I want to talk about my suicide attempt. When I was young, I was molested. I've had an abusive mother that was an alcoholic. There's a lot of traumatic things that happened when I was young, even before school, So by the age of 5, I was probably anxiety, depression. I had ADHD right then. Um, and my only people well, I was hurt by my grandfather, so I certainly didn't feel close to blood by any means. The only thing that mattered to me were animals. So whenever I ran outside because I was sad or whenever something had just happened, I'd run out the coulee and you'd find a horse or a cow nearby and they'd come running up to you because they'd hear me crying and, they'd try to console me. I've never had a human that I've gone to where I said, oh, this happened, you know? No, I always tried to keep everything to myself, you know, try to be the strong one, try to smile, you know. And yeah, it was just the animals. I was always thankful that I was allowed to have cats and dogs. Yeah, mom was good about that. She knew I liked animals. Mom hated animals. So, it was quite you know, a, a thorn for her for us to have them. But, you know, I was sent to a psychiatrist when I was 13 because that's when mom found out about my molestation. So she wanted me to see somebody, and that's when anxiety and depression were given. Mom never wanted me on pills. She was highly against that. Even when I was ADHD, she was like, "No, we live on a farm. She can go play outside." Like we were allowed like 1 hour TV a week. We had two channels, and it was usually hockey or baseball. So we got to see Sesame Street. And Romper Room. Yeah, I remember those ones. Special occasions, you'd see Astro Boy, like so, we were a very outdoorsy person. I'm very spiritualistic that way. Um, I don't believe in your typical God or anything. I believe in Mother Nature. The closest thing I would kind of go to is like Indian traditions, where they believe in like the spirit bear, the arrowhead, things like that, just the traditions of, you know, the earth herself, to love, you know. I kind of twist everything that works for me, because obviously something made Mother Nature, so there's a God above her. I just don't know what it is, so, you know, I've always had a rough life, and I just always made sure that I was busy, 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 and that's not always a good thing. And then a friend of mine committed suicide that we did not expect at all. And he was more than my friend. Like, he would have been my husband right now if he were alive. I know that for a fact. So he was the first person in my entire life that I actually talked to. I never really talked too much to my mom. She knew enough, but I would never tell her much of anything. Whereas, and I didn't tell TJ anything, trust me, I wasn't disruptive there, but I told TJ everything. Like, he knew, like, who had hurt me, how I felt, the bullying in the schoolyards and, being picked on. And, we had a lot in common. So we really, fed off each other and supported each other. And, our friendship was one in a million. Like, I've never had a friend like that before, you know, that one friend that, you know, every single time I seen him, you hug each other, you say goodbye, I love you. The phone calls always ended with, I love you, just because you always want people to know how you care, right? And then I got a phone call one day, and Dad come walking down the hallway, and he had tears in his eyes, so I knew somebody had got hurt or died or something. And my dad is really sensitive like me. Like, if we put Bambi on right now, I'd be crying. I'm very sensitive when it comes to a lot of things. But so was my dad. So when he was walking down the hall with his ear all tired up, and then all he said was TJ, and I crumbled to my knees because you know it wasn't well, we better hurry to the hospital because he's hurt. That wasn't it at all. So I dropped my niece, that's all I remember. And then I got up and I ran outside and I screamed and I screamed and I screamed like a fucking banshee. I think everybody on the street could come looking outside to see what was going on, but there was like my dad was one of my roommates, my brother was my roommate, and then I had a friend there too. So like with everybody outside, nobody came running over, and then there was my best friend Kelly come over, and then yeah, that was like the hardest thing in my entire life was dealing with that and him, and you know what would happen after. And life has sucked ever since he's died, I have to say. And we were always really close, the family group that we had at the time, because TJ had a big family and I was really close with everybody. And so we used each other for support, and everybody would be checking in with each other. Well, how are you doing? The safety checks, how are you mentally doing? Don't lie to me, and I was lying. I'd say I was fine, but I'm falling apart. Like, you don't want to be saying to the same person every single day, oh, no, God damn, I hate life, because you say that stuff to somebody every single day, and it's almost like you're crying wolf, because the one day that you really need somebody there, they're not there, which is pretty much what happened to me. So one night I made a phone call and somebody was supposed to come out, and it was somebody from North Battleford that I had trusted and told him about what had happened, and he didn't make the airplane flight. And that was pretty much all it took because I just needed one person to hear me that night, you know, and I had nobody, which I did, which is a sad thing, but I didn't think anybody really cared because, you know, just the way people were acting. It was kind of like just, you know, playing along, like it was in the script. Oh, are you okay? Okay, have a good night. Bye. You know, Nobody really seemed to go out of their way to do things, which I was used to because that's what TJ used to do, like every day, you get the phone calls and stuff like that. And so that night that I was let down because it would have been the only person that, because I knew that day when I got up, I knew, fuck, this is a bad day. I was like, you know, it wasn't the first time I contemplated suicide, so I already knew if it was a bad day, it wasn't a day to mess around. And when I called Mike that morning and he had missed his flight, I knew right then and there. I was like, well, that's all it took, you know. I wasn't I wasn't willing to play around anymore, which is pretty much what I call game of life. You fucking play game, and I didn't want to play anymore. So I ran down and I got a bottle of 151, and well, I always smoke weed, so I had a bag of weed at home. And then I smoked all the weed that I had, which was pretty much unheard of because I don't usually smoke too much at a time. But I was like, damn it, if this is my last night here, I'm going to be the one that smokes it all. Nobody's going to be touching my weed, man. I got grade A shit. Like, I don't share, So I smoked all my weed and then I drank that bottle and I was feeling pretty damn good, I have to say. And then I went in, I had a roommate at the time, and she was one of those girly girls that has like pills for everything, You got your Tylenol, you got your Advil, you got your Midol, you got your purple pink pill, you got like, and there are 8 different friggin' pill bottles in there. And at that point, I was just like, I was done. I didn't care, I didn't have a care in the world. I had a dog and a cat. Woo! And my mom and dad were alive, and mom and dad would take the mom and or the dog and cat. Like it wouldn't be like it wouldn't matter. Nothing would matter if I was gone, like to nobody. TJ was already gone, so who the hell cared about me? So I got drunk and then I went to Mel's room and I took every pill bottle out of her little cabinet thingy and took everything. And I didn't even know what, like, I mean, I don't know how many I took. The doctors couldn't tell me because I was pretty, like, they'd already digested, but like handfuls of pills. And, you know, I, how do you die? Well, most people die in the bathtub, so I thought, should it be? nice warm bath, bubbles all over, had the candles going, incense on, tea party in the background, and it was Edges of Twilight, so it wasn't necessarily the best one to be listening to anyway, because Edges of Twilight is a very dark album, but I love Tea Party regardless. So, and then I just thought, you know what, this is wrong. This is really wrong because the girl that was my roommate, and it was her first time living out of home. She'd only been there about 3 weeks. We knew each other for a few months for sure, if not a year, but long enough to know that I adored this girl. And then I thought, how shitty would that be for poor little Melissa to come home and find her friend's dead body in the bathtub? Like, how traumatic is that? Like, if it was traumatic enough that TJ died on us or committed suicide. Now, I never seen TJ, like, what had happened. Only one person had, and that was Joe. And Joe told us, so we all knew what had happened. But, I just didn't want Melissa to find me that way. So I managed to crawl out of the bathtub. And by then I was just toast. Like, I don't even know how I made it. Like, I wasn't walking, I was like pulling on the carpet, and like, you know, every little bit of energy in me was just there. And I managed to get to the phone. The phone's always up on this thingy, so I knocked the thing right over. I didn't give a shit. I broke the whole goddamn table. And I was like, "Hey, the phone!" And right away I called Kelly. And Kelly's distance from my house, I don't know, it was probably like 10 minutes driving, speed limit, 50, 55, 60, you know. Kelly also had a Trans Am, and Kelly doesn't care about the rules, and Kelly loved me more than anything else. So Kelly was probably at my house in 3 minutes. I had picked up the phone, and the only thing I had said to her was, Kelly, I need your help. And she didn't even ask me what the help was about. Like, it's like she automatically knew, and maybe it was the time, I'm not sure, because it was super, super late at night. And by the time she had showed up, there were already two police officers and ambulance in my parkway or in my driveway. And Kelly came in first because she's like, well, just let me go calm her down. And I was fine. I was beyond like calm down because I was laying on the floor half dead. Like, I mean, there was no life left in me to like give you kind of any kind of fight. Like, I was like, yeah, you know. And then, but when the cops come in, they scared me. So I went down the one set of stairs and then the second stairs down into the basement, and I tried hiding behind the punching bag. Like, it was the stupidest thing. Like, I remember everything was thing. And then the lady wasn't happy with me, the police officer. It was quite a bitch. And she finally got her hands around me and she just knelt hard down on my back, and she was just like, the cuffs were so tight. Like, she was doing her job, but I wasn't there to hurt nobody. Like, I mean, and same thing. They say nowadays, oh, cops should be taking better care of mental health. Well, yeah, maybe they should have been a lot more lenient to me because I was black and blue the next day from the way that they were treating me and throwing me around. And I was so drunk, like I was like, spaghetti. Like, I wasn't like resisting, no friggin' no nothing. I could barely walk. They'd push you and I'd be like stumbling all over. And then they handcuffed me to the bed inside of the thingy inside the ambulance. And I remember just kept on telling everybody, I was like, shit, I don't understand what your problem is. Like, I'm not trying to hurt nobody. I just want to die. Like, what is your problem? Like, I'm not asking for your help, just, I just didn't want to die at home. Just drop me over by the railroad tracks. I'll be fine. I'm, drunk enough that I'm sure the alcohol poisoning will take over by the morning, and the guy at the ambulance, he was such a sweetheart. And I remember his picture. I remember that night clear as day, fucking clear as day. I swear to God. And he was the sweetest kid. He's like, you know what? He said, there's got to be somebody out there that cares about you. Do you not have a family? I was like, yeah, I got a family. He's like, and is there more than one person in his family? And I was like, yeah. He's like, then there's somebody that cares about you. And he's like, well, who's that chick that was at the house? I said, that was my friend Kelly. And he's like, and what do you think Kelly would feel like right now if you were dead? And he was really the one that kind of shook me up that, I wish I could have said that to T that night before he did, and at least I was on my way to getting better, they were hoping. But I know that they were doing a lot of stuff in the ambulance, and I wasn't, the shock, I had a shock I didn't last. When I got into the hospital, they had put in double dose of charcoal on me, and it was bad, man. Oh, I would yeah. I don't recommend that shit to nobody. That does not feel very good whatsoever. And I remember, well, I didn't really fall asleep. You kind of lay there, but you don't really sleep. And my mom and dad were there, and when the doctor came in, he was like, "I didn't do anything." He said, like, somebody saved her. Like, she should not be here, not for the amount of liquor in her and the amount of pills that were in her, and you just combine it all, and so you know my parents, the only way I got out of there was a psychiatrist released me to my parents. And then I seen the psychiatrist for a little while when I was out there. I knew I already had ADHD and anxiety depression, so he already knew it was just like, well, PTSD and a bunch of other stuff. And he had me on some sort of pills there for a while, but back in the 2000, it was like the Joker look. It felt sore. So I didn't like the way my face felt, so I stopped taking those. But I don't I know the difference between suicidal and suicide. And I have definitely had times where I've been suicidal since that time, where you really, really, really think about it, almost plan it out. Shit, it's really easy to, do this or this or this. But no, I don't, because then I look over beside me and I got two cute dogs laying there and I got a kitty all stretched out over there, and it's like, nobody's gonna love them the way that I do. So, and I have bigger and better plans in store. And I'm a year sober. Like, I finally sobered up. So thank God I didn't commit suicide, because, things definitely didn't get better. Like, I mean, I was raped after that still, and I was through earthquakes and a plane that almost crashed, and like, it's just like my life seriously has been nothing but interesting times. Definitely bad luck. If I had no luck, I'd have no luck at all, Granny says. So, you know, I've had a very, very interesting life, but I can easily say that I have tried. So don't don't do that to somebody. We always think, it doesn't matter what age you are, even, 22, 26, 45. Like, I mean, seriously, like, an age doesn't matter, because there is somebody that out there does care. And maybe there's somebody that cares more than maybe the person, so there's a coworker that that might not say it but cares a little bit more. That family member you don't talk to, but oh, they love you more than anybody else in the family. So, you know, just always put your mental health first. And if you at all think that you do need help, there's so many places to call or reach out to. So there's no need to devastate an entire family. And trust me, I know what life feels to be shitty. And you really, really, really just don't want to get out underneath them covers. Well, so have a couple days like that. Don't get underneath the covers. Doesn't mean anything. Call in sick for work or something. Watch movies. Watch whatever. Just don't do. And it's never anything dumb because it's your choice, but don't do anything that you're gonna regret. Because I swear to you, like, somebody like TJ, when you are seriously just a young punk like that, you know, there was so much you could have done with your life, you know, and you just you think the best you can through things. And I mean, even if you're not willing to talk to your friends or anything, there's books you could do, there's workbooks you could do, there's tons of stuff online. You can join groups, there's just tons of stuff. Whatever works, whatever turns your niche. Just know that people love you, because there are people that love you. There could be that girl in high school that is so, in love with you, or, your wife. You could have kids. Just always think about somebody else, because, you know, something that drastic can seriously mess up somebody's life, you know. And I'm not necessarily going to commit suicide anytime soon. Well, I'm not going to commit suicide. That came out wrong. I'm not going to commit suicide. But the man that I love is never going to be here. So I know that I'm going to live the next, 40, 50 years of my life completely alone. So call your helpline, do your check, stay in check. Love you all. Take care.